if you want to truly make the most out of your existence, then you must come to realize one major thing. And that is that unless you form a conscious relationship with the present moment in such a way that your here and now becomes the most important aspect of your existence, you're never going to get there. Unless you can see this moment of now as the sacred point of convergence of all past potentials that have already collapsed and all future possibilities that have yet to enter your zone of awareness, you can never truly understand the reason for being. Because your present experience and everything that fills your consciousness, all of the flavors of the past and the future, are entangled and meet you right here where you are. But when you put your awareness in either the past or in the future, you start drowning out your experience of the now. You start losing the real meaning of life, which is in understanding the full taste of the current moment and everything that it's making you realize about yourself. Choosing to dwell on either the past or the future that hasn't even occurred yet puts you in a state of wanting to control the uncontrollable. It puts you in a state of you lacking access to that which is outside of the periphery of your consciousness, leading you to feel like you are a victim in this game of life. The only way to feel empowered in the present moment is to assume that this present moment, this here and now that you're experiencing right now, for the only time in history that you can experience it, is by understanding that this is the most important aspect of your existence. And this moment, this temporary feeling which you can fully experience by choosing to be in the here and now, is achieved when you realize that no other moment actually exists. Because to think about the past as a series of moments that already are out of your existence makes you realize that they're not actually there if you don't look back on them. Just as the future isn't really there until you choose to put yourself in the state of embodying the future that you want to be experiencing. This takes the art of manifestation to a whole new level. Because when people try to correct the past in order to bring them into the future from a state of not truly internalizing their full dimensional experience from within, they're going to be trying to create a future out of a state of mentalized possibility, out of a state of wanting to have things happen in a certain way without truly ascertaining what they're wanting and feeling deep down. The first reason why so many people want to correct their past is because they believe that there are things in the past that must be changed in order to experience a better, brighter future. Now, if you're one of these people, I want you to remember that what you're looking at in the past contains energy. It contains an experience that created an emotional output in you. Most likely, if there's something that you want to be changing, you are still experiencing the emotions connected to that timeline that you were on in the past. You may be feeling some lower density emotions like shame, guilt, fear, regret, remorse, a feeling that you maybe have done something wrong or you've made a mistake that if only you could correct, you can get onto the right pathway leading to a brighter, better future. But what if you look at the past as an unchangeable object for a purpose, for a reason? What if you look at the past as not something that you want to change, but as something that needs acceptance and deserves empathy? When you side with the version of you that you were in the past, which maybe was less developed or less aware than you are in the present moment. Almost all of us can think of some things in the past that we would have done different if only we would have known where that past would have taken us. But this is where the true responsibility that we as conscious souls have to be conscious in the present moment of everything that could not be changed back then. Throughout our journey of life, we go through a series of events in which we can look at everything housed in our consciousness as something that was not entirely in our control. Back then, when you made those lesser decisions or felt certain things that you don't want to be feeling right now, think of yourself as being limited in your range of possibilities. Just like if you were a child that underwent some kind of trauma, you didn't know how to step out of that traumatic experience. You didn't know that you had a choice of how you can process those emotions and go through certain things that right now as an adult, you can be looking back on and realizing you had a different way to process and a different way to look at altogether. In your past, you went through a series of present moments back then, which led you to experience exactly what you went through. There was no shame in what you experienced. There was no reason to fault yourself for going through anything that you now realize you would have done or looked at differently. Which means that the wisest thing that you can do as a conscious version of yourself in the here and now that has matured and gained even more acuity and understanding of that situation is you learn to simply accept. You learn to surrender by siding with the version of yourself that you were in the past, by learning to see that you didn't do anything wrong. And you shouldn't have done anything different, because the way that you were in the past is the way that you were destined to go through those experiences. Now, whatever you have gone through, whether you feel that you have done something wrong or somebody did something wrong to you, you can find a lot of peace and a lot of emotional release in this understanding when you can choose to safely surrender all of these negative, taxing, difficult emotions which put weight on your ability to progress into the future through the more surrendered, lighter version of you. Wouldn't you want to step into a future in which you no longer have to carry the baggage of your past, and you no longer have to feel responsible for not being conscious in the past version of self? This is not a responsibility of yours in the here and now to blame yourself or to make yourself feel lesser than you currently are by choosing to remain a hostage to your past. And very often what people tend to do is submerge themselves in shadow work and in doing a lot of inner work and healing, trying to look at everything they have done wrong in the past to pinpoint why they were mistaken and what they can do differently to correct those intentions, actions, and decisions in the present moment. However, that isn't the way to do it. For more information on how to quantum jump, check out my video on that, because the true way to transcend the past trauma, obstacles, and unconsciousness that is not in our current control is to simply quantum leap onto the new timeline. When you can realize that where you are in the present moment differs from where you once were, you should congratulate yourself. This is an opportunity to see that you are evolving. You are changing and transmuting all of those negative emotions and unconscious patterns that were leading you down the wrong path in the past. And actually, when you start to look at this bigger picture, the wrongness of the path that you are on dissolves into the understanding that that path led you to exactly where you needed to be. And this is a very freeing understanding to embody. Once you choose to eliminate guilt, shame, and regret, you can see that everything that you have done, all of the accumulated lessons, are really just important aspects of your development. And everything that has hurt you actually allowed you to become stronger. Every wrongdoing allowed you to realize how you can become the greatest version of you that you currently are. So actually, you can pride yourself for going through everything that has led to this current moment in your evolution. And if you're still looking at yourself as the byproduct of your past, and as an individual who needs to do significant work in order to feel completely free, happy, and willing to change your life to become the better version of yourself in the future, then look at yourself as needing to put all of your attention and focus into the here and now. At this point in time, there is no more reason to go into your past and to figure out all of the chains and attachments which did not allow you to evolve, because putting your energy in those past circumstances, which are unchangeable, only puts more energy into them. And as soon as you start to focus on everything that is outside of your hands and outside of your consciousness, you simply attach more weight to them. So it's kind of like a chain that is broken when you choose to not look at it. But if you start looking at it, it starts to weighing you down once more. In order to truly liberate yourself, you must make the conscious decision once and for all to start living in the here and now, to start creating a whole new kind of experience for yourself in which you're actively choosing to be free from the past programs, limitations, beliefs, patterns, old relationships, and different circumstances that made you feel imprisoned. Because by choosing to translate your life over to the present moment from the past, you choose to paint on a clean canvas of the present moment. You choose to be fully empowered and embodied in the truth of the present moment, which also means that you now have the power to reprogram yourself in any way that you will. You can choose to start rewriting the script, which might have been written by other people in the past, or even unconscious versions of you, which no longer exist. Because as soon as you come to see that you do indeed have the power to make the most of this experience, you start to do things very differently. And that's when you truly become the empowered scriptwriter of the story of life. Now pick up that pen in your hands. How does it feel to realize that you have the power to change anything that you want to feel differently, to think differently, to move your body differently, to associate with new people, to find yourself in new situations, to align with new opportunities, to start creating an entirely new existence based on a new belief about your freedom and the essential value of yourself that you are at your core. If you've been hiding any qualities or feeling ashamed of how you're showing up to the world, you can choose right now to start doing this completely differently. You can relieve yourself of the burden of being a version of yourself that you no longer want to be by just choosing to see that who you are right now is a choice in the making. The way that you show up to life today and the day after, and the day after that, is entirely some decision that you create as soon as you choose to wake up and embody a certain version of yourself. If you choose to bounce into a new kind of a world in which you're choosing to be stronger, happier, healthier, more excited, and more radiant, you choose to embody more qualities that are already existent within you. You become the multifaceted diamond of your consciousness by choosing to assume that all of these qualities are already existent. You just need to polish them instead of burying them beneath the traumas, difficult emotions, and experiences of the past, which are just distorting your current qualities of self. With this in mind, how does this change the way that you're perceiving the past, present, and future? Does this start to make you look at everything as just a continuum of the here and now? Because that's exactly what your consciousness has gone through. It's a journey of ever-collapsing moments of now, which accumulate in your mind along a timeline of past, present, and future. In reality, time is an illusion. The past doesn't really exist, just like the future doesn't really exist. It's just your human perception of either the past or the future that makes these things real in your mind. And the arrow of time goes in any direction that you choose to focus it on. Which means that if you make right now, this present moment, the most important aspect of your existence, it's going to be. You're going to become an active creator. You're going to choose to be the programmer of your world. You're going to choose to be happier about the present moment because you'll naturally start to exude more gratitude and appreciation for what you're currently experiencing, and will try to make the absolute most of it because you now realize that this moment is what must be prioritized. As soon as you start being sucked into something that happened before you, or something that is outside of your control, realize that that is where your mind goes, out of fear. Out of a desire to control things that cannot be controlled, which means whenever you go into the past or into the deep future, you're really sabotaging on your current experience of now. And even when it comes to manifesting the future, you may realize that when you choose to look more at the present moment with importance and value than the future state, you might start to want different things for the future. You might not be so focused on manifesting a totally new future when you choose to really make the most out of the now. And very often, this is where law of attraction can flip itself over to make us realize that really what we've been seeking is the most in the moment of now. The conundrum of the human experience is that very often when people are unhappy, they are either thinking too much about the past and everything that it holds and cannot be refined, or the future, which they believe must be different than the present moment in order to bring them into a happier state of being. But unless you can shift your awareness from both the past and the future, you can't really understand the meaning of joy, which is akin to the meaning of the now. If you choose to bring yourself fully into the present moment, you're forced to feel. You're forced to confront your entire truth of your experience, which means you see everything within you and you realize everything that you've been trying to distract yourself from. By looking fully into the present moment, you can form a relationship with your own shadow. You can start to see what you've been trying to run away from or run towards, and realize that both of these things are illusions because you are just running from yourself in the now moment. By choosing to not look into the mirror and to reflect on every single thing that you're experiencing that is compelling you to either live in the past or to hope for the future, you are not looking at what actively needs to be changed right now when you choose to be the programmer of the best now moment you can possibly experience. And only when you can choose to side with the version of you in both the past and the future can you realize that that is really the you that you want to be experiencing right now. What the present moment is a gift that your awareness has created in order to understand what the meaning of life is. It's a moment for you to be fully here and to understand that the only way for life to feel good is if you choose to feel it completely. If you choose to be in the full connection to your heart, mind, body, and spirit, to understand that where you are is where you have chosen to be. And if you don't like how this feels, think about how you can form a better relationship with how you feel in order to feel better going forward. Any form of disconnection from the present moment leads you to enter a future state in which you're subsequently trying to be more disconnected. If you choose to disrupt your pattern of looking within and being fully present, the present moment is going to feel like a curse. You're always going to want to distance yourself from the truth that you're experiencing in your inner reality by looking at the outer reality as something that can change to make you feel better about yourself, when in essence, the only way to establish change is to realize that you are the agent of change in your world. Nothing will change before you decide to emit all the changes that you are seeking in the now.